harsh topic of drug abuse in high school. We had breaking news earlier this morning of two South Lake Carroll students found dead at the scene from a possible overdose in Grapevine. The two South Lake Carroll students, Kyle McNutt and Chase Nunez, were found dead at the scene of what appears to be a drug overdose on Friday, January 4th. Kyle and Chase were hanging out with 22-year-old Coleman Marino. Location has not been released, but it seemed to be in Grapevine. Detectives determined that illegal narcotics were used by all three and found students non-responsive. Marino found them non-responsive and instead of calling 911, moved them to another bedroom until they were found dead at the scene earlier that morning. Grapevine Police Sergeant Robert Erberling said it was obvious that it was more or less a cocktail of different narcotics that were used by the individuals. A lot of people have controversy over this drug overdose. A lot of people are questioning if the parents knew if the kids were supposedly using drugs before this was their first time. So we're questioning a lot of how high schools can bring awareness to drugs and the possible outcome. So this is Officer Moore at Colleyville Heritage High School. We're going to ask him some questions. What is your main concern about drug abuse in high school?
Well, obviously, drugs are illegal. And yesterday, some kids asked me about marijuana usage and asked me if that was, like marijuana is okay. And I said, well, I don't believe that's the case. That people would like to claim it as a natural herb or whatever. I think studies show that it's worse than cigarettes, and a lot of people believe it's a gateway drug leading to other heavier, worse drugs. I don't think marijuana should be legalized.
How do you feel about the DARE program?
Well, the Colleyville Police Department, Grapevine Police Department, the school district haven't done DARE in 4 or 5 years at least. They changed to a different program, similar, but it's just not with the DARE label. I don't think, obviously DARE doesn't work for everybody. Those type of programs don't work for everybody, but I have to think it makes some people think of, when it comes time to make a choice, to make the right one.
The first graph shows the unintentional drug overdose deaths by a major type of drug in the United States from 1999 to 2008. From 1999 to 2001, cocaine had a steady death rate of 3,000, but steadily increased to its highest in 2006 with 6,000 deaths. But with heroin, on the other hand, it stayed at a constant rate of almost 2,000, but rose to 3,000 in 2008. This graph just shows the unintentional drug overdose from 1970 to 2007. In 2007, there were 9.18 deaths per 100,000 population, based on 27,658 deaths. Alright, so what is y'all's main concern about drug abuse in high school?
Well, I guess my concern would be, obviously, it's horrible. I mean, we want to make sure that we protect our kids. We don't want our kids exposed to that. We want to stop it. We talk about security in the building, and I did make the comment. I go, we all have concerns, but I'm going to tell you one of the things that people I want to keep out. I want to keep drug dealers out of this building, because if you slip into this building and you're a younger-looking person, you could blend in. I mean, we're going to do some things. We're going to go full IDs next year, because we're going to know who's supposed to be here and who's not supposed to be here, and if you're not supposed to be here, we're going to get you out. So obviously the concern is we don't want kids exposing themselves. That's going to take them, it's usually not a good result. All right? It's not going to pay off, and we don't want our kids exposed to any kind of temptation to go in those bad directions.
Okay, how have you seen the generations change with drug use or drug abuse?
I don't know that I have. I think since I've been a kid myself, I mean, people are exposed. I mean, you see drugs change, but you see there's always going to be an element that tries to profit on the vulnerability of some people. So in my mind, I don't think much has changed. I mean, yeah, the name of different things have changed, but there's always there's things out there, and there's people out there preying on people.
Okay, how do you feel about the DARE program?
Any program that exposes people to the dangers, and that we make everyone aware of that. I mean,
it's needed, it's necessary. I certainly wouldn't stop doing it. I don't know the impact, but even if it gets one kid, to not use, then it's serving its purpose. So
we have to continue to have conversations with our young adults, as long as they're going to continually be bombarded and exposed to. If there's going to be bad people trying to get kids to buy drugs and get hooked on them so they can make money, then we have to make sure that we continue to expose our kids that these are bad decisions, that you can say no, and there's people here that will help you.
I guess they just focus mainly on do you have an elementary or just middle school?
Just middle school.
Just middle school? They don't do anything with the high school? I mean, the only thing I can think is if they moved up and continue to work with high school kids, because middle school and high school kids are totally different, and the access gets easier. So I think maybe if they expanded their program, that might be helpful.
What's your response to the South Lake overdose?
Well, any time there's a horrible event like that, I mean, those horrible events, they kind of slap you in the face and make you realize the biggest problem is that kids will say it's no big deal, there's nothing wrong with it because nothing's happened to me. And it's one of those situations, because it hasn't happened yet doesn't mean it's not going to happen. And that's the problem. And then just the nature of adolescence. So you feel you're invincible, it's not going to affect me. That only happens to somebody else. And that's the problem with, these people preying on young kids. And then when you see those events, it slaps people in the face, but how long does it last?
Tragic. It makes me ask questions. I ask questions like, I think of parents, and did you know? Did you not know? Do we get so busy in our lives that we forget to really, really pay attention to what's going on? We've had 5 funerals in this building in 1 year, several years ago, all due to drugs and alcohol except for one. And I watched nothing change. I watched kids cry, go to the funeral, be impacted, and then right back to the same behavior. So I don't know how to make it change. I don't know how to make kids understand that you're not invincible. If that doesn't do it, I don't know what does, and that clearly doesn't do it. So my question at South Lake is, now have things just gone right back to normal and everybody's just doing exactly what they did beforehand? My guess is probably yes. I just don't understand it. So,
Do you think there could have been a way to prevent the overdose?
Oh, I don't know. I mean, I don't know that I know enough about the whole, the situation and what led up to the situation. I mean, the way you prevent that is we can keep drugs out of our country, or not. I mean, I say out of our country. I mean, a lot of them are produced in the country. I mean, we just have to do a better job, and I think what Dr. Foster said too. I mean, we have to work together. Schools, parents, places of worship, just any place that can help people to make better decisions. I mean, that's it. But I mean, the problem is once people go down these paths, eventually something wrong's going to happen. It might happen when you're 16. It might happen when you're 40. Something's going to go wrong if you go down this path.
I think the only way to prevent something like that is if somebody along the way that knew what was going on said no. And we're going to get you help, or we're going to tell. That's about the only way you can prevent something like that once it starts, is that somebody stands up that cares enough, even though that person may hate you at the time, that says no. I'm not gonna let you do this. And clearly that didn't happen in this case, but that's pretty much the only one of the ways to prevent it.
Do you think harsher drugs are becoming more common in like everyday high school life?
I think it goes back to what Dr. Foster was saying, access and everything. I mean, there are drugs available, and there has been for a while, but I think it does seem like there's access to more things, and that's it. I don't know. I don't know how we stop that. I mean, we have to catch the people that are bringing drugs into the building. We need the kids to say, "Not here, not. This is my house, and we're not doing that."
Yes. Yes. I'll just say yes and just give you that answer and agree with him.
Also, how do you talk about those people that step up and say no? How do you create those leaders?
Well, the only thing I would say too, though, it has to be that we have a culture where that's honored and respected. And that's what happened for a while. I've seen places where you weren't honored and respected for doing the right thing. You were ridiculed for doing the right thing. We have a wonderful place here. I think most people would stand up and applaud the person that says, "I'm not going to tolerate that. You need to stop that." And I think that's how we as, not just us though, I mean, there's 2,200 kids and 125 of the faculty. If we create a place where the kids honor and respect, if the most honored person is the person who says no, then that becomes what we want to be.
Yeah. It takes kids just being willing to do that and not caring what other people think, and that's hard, but you just have to build that culture.
Definitely. Well, thank you for your time.
No problem.